Hi, everyone. Thanks so much for tuning in to The Object of the Game. For Coach Chuck Kyle, I'm Maureen Kyle. And today, I'm so excited for our guest. I mean, I've known Bob DiBiasio for a long time. So have you. I mean, he's energy. He is the history of the Cleveland Guardians. But I think it's going to be really fascinating. One of his major jobs was the public relations part of dealing with some of the stuff that happens with the baseball team, relaying it to the public, all of the media days. And Dad, I did want to, before we even get into our interview with Bob, and having been part of the media, I mean, that's not an easy thing to be the person who has to, the media shows up and is asking you hard questions and things happen and you have to have the right answers. What was that like, especially considering you guys didn't really have too much of a public affairs department?
Right. Somebody would run down and go, hey, channel whatever, going to be at practice today. That's about all you get.
Yeah.
You don't even know who's coming, whatever. Is that fine. That's okay. Come on. And I always thought, first of all, it's good for the school. Let's say it's good for the kids because then they get a sense that, it's more than just our family that care. Mm-hmm. I mean, the city cares. Look. Mm-hmm. And you're seeing someone walking up there. They have the camera, the microphone. And I always thought, I should be more than welcoming to them because they're trying to do a good job. And maybe we have an interesting story going on, big game that week, whatever it's going on, playoffs, all that. And I always thought that's a responsibility that I had. I really did. I thought that was something that to show appreciation that they're covering high school sports. Cleveland, come on, we're going to have Bobby today. And yes, it is a professional town. Let's face it. But they're taking that time to come to a high school practice. There's some appreciation we should show. Mm-hmm. And so, look, how can we, what do you want to do? Let's do it,
Yeah.
So I always thought that we owed them. That's what I thought.
Yeah. And getting the message out also, you're including everybody. We're going to talk to Bob about, the fan base and making sure that they feel included too. And that's how you get fans in the seats.
Sure.
They need to know what's going on when something bad happens. They need to know what's going on when something great is happening.
The area is a very good sports town. Let's face it. We have this show, mm-hmm. Doesn't happen in that many other places, I don't think. Mm-hmm. But yeah, it can work in Cleveland, right? Mm-hmm. And I think that the stories want to be told. There's so many great stories that somebody's got to tell it. Somebody's got to be the person you went through this for how many years?
Yeah.
You only have 15 seconds to tell this story, but you got to get it in.
Yeah.
And if it's done well, and you get the cooperation from the person you're interviewing, mm-hmm. makes it a good story.
Yeah. Bob DiBiasio is going to join us after the break. He has amazing stories. I mean, if you think about it, he's going to tell you how long he's been with the Guardians. He started when they were the Indians. He's probably been there longer than anybody else with the organization. I can't think of anybody who would be there longer. So he knows all the ins and outs. You are in for a great interview, so make sure you stay tuned. Before we toss to a break, I want to thank our sponsors, Infinity of Beechwood and Infinity of Akron. Drive the completely reimagined, entirely redesigned Infinity QX80, where luxury meets power. The 2025 QX80 has earned the IIHS top safety pick for its structural integrity and advanced safety technology. Make every road trip unforgettable. Backed by exceptional service and a premium experience at Infinity of Beechwood and Infinity of Akron. Go check them out today. This is luxury redefined. We'll be right back with Bob DiBiasio. Welcome back to The Object of the Game. Before we get into our interview, I want to thank our sponsor, Lakespur Marketing. Lakespur Marketing prides themselves on delivering positive and powerful results. They are a full transparency marketing agency who will be with you every step of the way. They are in constant communication with their clients. At Lake Spear Marketing, there isn't a set it and forget it strategy. All tactics are customized to your needs. Trust the experts. Trust Lake Spur Marketing. Guardians fans, you are in for a treat. We have he's basically the heartbeat of the Guardians. Bob DiBiasio. You've probably seen him around because he's been around with the Guardians for a while. I think
Just a while.
Oh, just a little while.
A little while.
Bobby D, thank you so much for spending time with us today.
Maureen, Coach, thanks for having me. This will be fun.
I know.
Yes.
We're looking forward to it. You've been on our list of people to get in here and chat with for a while.
Yes.
Thank you.
And we just had to fit into the very busy schedule of Major
Being
League
it's
Baseball.
Baseball.
in the midst of baseball season.
Guardians.
We're
we're
hot. We're hot.
hot.
We're having a
Barring
revival.
last night. Don't
Yeah,
worry.
last night,
It's 24 hours next game. Let's go.
Yeah,
Yeah.
The Marlins on Wednesday night had their hitting shoes on. So
That's all right.
that happens every
Thank
once in a while. But we've had a heck of a revival
Oh,
after
right.
losing 10 in a row.
Right.
We've had a great 31 game stretch, 22-9, and we were 15 and a half back after losing 10 in a row. Now only 5 in the loss column. So
Right.
we're in the hunt. The last 7 weeks are going to be a lot of fun.
That's
Oh my gosh, that's
what
amazing.
you'd want at this time of year.
Yeah.
Just
Let's
be
face
in the
it.
hunt.
Yeah.
That's great.
One of the reasons we were really excited to get you in here is you are in your 47th year with the Guardians. That's incredible.
Yeah, it's
Right.
crazy. Started in 1979. I think there were 30 of us total in the entire front office
Wow.
back then. Now on the business side alone, there's 280, something like 400 if you count the players, maybe 500 on the business side. So obviously our business has grown since the late 70s.
Yeah, I can imagine it's
Yeah,
changed.
Brian Barron, we had
Yeah.
a couple
Brian
months ago.
Brian is an unsung hero in this town. He's that kind of guy. He likes to be behind the scenes, but boy, when he was tabbed as the president of our business side, we were fortunate.
Right.
And then one of the first things that I chatted with him, I said, you're a quarterback. As you guys
Right.
talked about,
Yes.
I'm
Yes.
sure that
Yeah.
I said, you're a quarterback. And we're together. We're both sons of coaches. Just
Right.
be a quarterback as you learn how to run the front office of
Yeah.
a sports team. Be the quarterback. You understand
right.
everybody's
There you go.
role, and he's done a remarkable job.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. He was at Princeton, and his center was Mark Shapiro.
Right.
I'm sitting there going, wait a minute.
Yeah. I mean, crazy.
Come on.
Yeah,
You
crazy
know?
stuff. And Jason Garrett, I'm sure
Yeah.
he talked about,
Jason.
the coach of the Cowboys and
Yeah.
played here at
it's
U.S.
interesting how
Yeah,
right?
those connections.
all those
Well,
things,
it's
and,
all about
and you
relationships.
can tell high school, Lakewood, and college played a year of basketball. I think maybe you looked in the mirror, maybe not an NBA career.
No, I needed to concentrate
Yeah,
on what I was
but that's
going to do
okay.
after sports.
Yeah, like baseball, right?
Yeah,
for
yeah. I
3
played
years.
a couple years of baseball,
And all
1
that,
year of
all
basketball.
that sports
Yeah,
that you spend with your brother, because I
Two
had
older
three.
brothers.
I had 3 older brothers, so
Oh, okay.
being
You
the
know it.
youngest,
yeah.
you got thrown into a
Yeah,
wall.
you're a
This
baby,
wall, you got
too?
thrown into it
Yeah.
several times,
Oh,
and
nothing better.
well, it helped out, didn't it?
You know,
It helped out.
well, it helped your skill set.
Yeah,
if,
right.
if your older brothers allowed you to get on the playing field, the basketball court, wherever. My 2 brothers, though, you remember Bob Gain, the old
Yeah,
tackle
sure.
for the Browns.
Right.
Well, my brothers, because I wanted to be with them all the time, would say, hey, come on, let's go outside. We're going to play Bob Gain. And the game was I stood on one side of the house on Narragansett, and they were on the other driveway, and they'd kick off to me, and they would scream Bob Gain, and I had to try to get to the other driveway without them beating the living daylights out of me. And I thought it was the coolest game
Yeah.
in the world.
I'm kind of glad you didn't. They didn't talk to my older brothers, because that would have happened. That would have happened.
Yeah.
I mean, you look back and you're right. I'm
was-
glad they did. I mean, it certainly
it was the
helped
best.
me.
Our dad was an assistant football, basketball, baseball coach
Right.
at Lakewood High for
Oh,
a long time.
there's a little area at Lakewood.
Yeah,
High
at
School.
Lakewood High
His
School.
dad
our
is
friend
honored.
Tony DiBiasio
Yeah.
Way spent nearly
Right.
50 years in
Oh,
Lakewood schools
beautiful.
and most at the high school. And then when our oldest brother Danny became a sophomore and was challenging as a sophomore to be the starting quarterback, he stopped coaching.
Oh,
He didn't want
Interesting.
to coach his kid.
okay.
And so,
All right.
but I grew up in Lakewood Stadium locker rooms, cleaning footballs, helmets, counting the basketballs
Oh my gosh.
at practice. And so it's been a
Wow.
part of my life as long as I can remember.
It just had a small effect on
You
your
were-
career.
Yeah, a little bit on what I wanted to do in life.
All
Yeah.
right. That's
I would have been a coach and a teacher if I didn't fall into. My oldest brother, Danny, was a college president at Wilmington College, Ohio Northern, for close to 30 years. My brother, Tony, counseling psychologist, coached football at Fairview for Stover, for Bob
Yeah,
Stover. He was on that
Awesome.
staff.
Yeah.
And we had to graduate from Ohio Wesleyan and make sure we had a teaching certificate. So my dad knew we had some skill
Ah,
for going
There you
to
go.
Ohio.
Yeah.
All three of us went there.
right.
And then
right.
I diverted into sports and have been fooling them ever since.
Now, while you were in college too, you started to like dip your toe into this public affairs,
Yes,
PR.
I
Yeah.
did,
So
Yeah.
how did you get into that?
Back in those days, there was no such thing as sports information director. I think Wittenberg in Division III was the only school that had a sports information department. Schools had PR departments, but not focused on sports. So myself and two other of my classmates decided to create our own sports information department. One of them, Tom Jolly, became the sports editor at the New York Times.
Yeah.
Wow.
Oh wow,
Um,
I know that
wow.
name.
Tom
Yeah.
Jolly,
Yes.
Yeah.
phenomenal guy.
Cool.
And the other was a big VP of communications at UPS, Ken Sternad. So I decided it was important for me to start learning. I was sports editor of the school
Right,
newspaper, the
yes.
transcript. Start to get that skill set going.
Yeah.
Right,
Yeah.
right. Yeah. Again, I hope parents have your kids watch this.
Yeah.
And listen to this one. This is great. This
Yeah.
is how things happen.
Yeah.
Right.
And
You
it
start-
evolves. Yeah.
you
I
have-
wanted to be in sports
Right.
some way, and
Yeah.
whether or not I was a teacher and a coach, but I thought of a different path. I wanted to be a sports writer, and then I really made sure I understood how do you become a PR man in professional sports. And so I researched it, and it was all former sports writers late in their career in the 70s that became, there was no such thing as sports management degrees or
Right.
any of
Oh,
that
yeah.
sort of thing. And so that's the track I took was journalism and I kept writing Harry Jones, who was the PR
Oh,
man
my,
of the Indians
Harry
at
Jones.
the time, saying, "Hey, I want to work for you someday." And
Harry
all of a
Jones.
sudden it happened. I got to work for him.
Well, we want to hear landing the dream job story.
Yeah.
We're going to take a quick break, but we want to hear more when we return. You're watching The Object of the Game, and our guest today, Bob DiBiasio, Senior Vice President of Public Affairs for the Guardians. And Bob, before we took a break, you were talking about how you kind of set yourself up in college to go into sports information. So how do you end up landing that first job
Yeah,
with the Guardians? You sort of,
Fremont, Ohio newspaper.
Right.
Okay, now
News
that
messenger, yes.
right. That's not necessarily one that's ranked up there with the New
No,
York Times.
no, it was
Okay.
only 6 days a week to tell you what kind of newspaper. It
Okay.
didn't even have a Sunday paper. I decided after being the sports editor or during the time at college, as the sports editor of the transcript, the school paper at Ohio Wesleyan, and I'd have to go interview coaches.
Mhm.
And my dad being a coach, I thought to myself, I don't like going and questioning
Right.
the basketball coach or the lacrosse coach or football coach, and I want to be on the inside. I don't want to be the guy always questioning because I know how hard coaches work. I grew up with it. I know how important they are. It just didn't fit my personality, which, again, if there are parents or kids watching, understand who you are, what your personality is, what can you do in life that you love that fits who you are. And it's going to take a while to learn who you are. But if you have a nice mindset of that as you approach your life and your career, I think you're going to be in a better place. So I researched again, how do you become a PR person? Back then, and thankfully it's not that way now, but it was all men in the 70s. And I kept writing Harry Jones, the PR man of the Indians, for 5 years.
Wow.
4 years of college, 1 year of graduate school, got my master's in journalism at Ohio State. And I never heard from him. Then I went on to be the Fremont News Messenger. I called myself the sports editor. There was only two. I'm sorry, the assistant sports editor. There were only two of us on the staff.
Hey, doesn't
Bob
matter.
Marker was the sports editor, and then me.
That
so I
sounds like
called
an
myself.
assistant. Yeah.
I called myself the assistant sports editor, and they let me write a column. I mean, again, all
Oh,
these
that's amazing.
experiences in college and at the Fremont News Messenger allowed me to fail, allowed me to make mistakes, so I could learn in those settings. And finally, one day I was going to cover a big Gibsonburg versus Clyde basketball
There it
game,
is. Right.
and all of a sudden the phone rings
Oh my gosh.
in my little apartment in Fremont, and it's Harry Jones saying, "Hey, you want to work for us? You still have an interest in coming to work for us?" And
Oh,
I'm
wow.
like, "Harry, yes, for 5 years." He goes, "Yeah, I know you've been, you know, on my mind, and we now have an opening. Come and do the interview." So
Yeah.
I did the interview, and the interview lasted maybe 10, 15 minutes. Joe Bick, who's now a very successful agent, and Harry Jones. And after 15 minutes, they say, "Hey, go stand in the hallway." And I'm thinking, oh, I begged for this job for
Aw.
5 years, and I'm only
Aw.
trying to sell myself in 15 minutes.
Yeah.
And then Harry walks out, extends his hand, and says, "Welcome to the big leagues, kid."
Aw.
And I've been fortunate enough to be around ever since.
Oh my gosh, incredible.
Yeah.
So that's a new, I mean,
Story.
as you've mentioned, that is a new position. So there had to be major challenges in those first few years trying to figure out, like, what does that role entail? Where are we stepping our toes? Where are we not? You know, what do you do? Like, what was the
Maureen,
biggest challenge?
You're so right in that regard. Again, with only 30 of us, and there were 3 in the PR department.
Mhm.
Myself, an assistant, and a secretary, Posey O'Connor, who had been there for a long time. But we did media relations, the basic public relations, we did community relations, we did publications, we did broadcasting, just the 3 of us.
Wow.
All of that. Now there's 6 people, if not more, in each individual silo is how our game has grown so dramatically. So the first year, 1979, just doing whatever Harry told me and learning and calling other people in the business to pick their brain. And I was lucky. My mentor, Bob Fischel, grew up in Cleveland, went to a high school in Cleveland, ended up being, quote, the PR man for the Indians when the PR was hired out to ad agencies.
Mhm.
They didn't have internal. He then becomes the PR man of the New York Yankees during the Mickey Mantle,
Oh.
Roger Maris 60s
Oh.
home run,
Oh.
the M&M boy. He was the PR man
my
during
gosh.
that time. Then he becomes the PR man for the American League. And my first day on the job, he calls me and says, "Hey, call me at any time. I'm here to help you. I'm a Cleveland guy."
Oh, wow.
And I said, "Well, I know that, Mr. Fischel." And everybody needs a mentor,
Right.
or 2 or 3.
Yeah,
and,
right.
and I was fortunate to have Bob Fischel as my mentor. And the next year, one day, Harry walks by my desk and says, "Hey, Bobby, I'll see you later. I'm not coming back." And it was on a Friday, and I thought he just meant
It's
it
going
was
out for a
like
cup
2
of
o'clock.
coffee
Yeah,
or something.
2 o'clock. I thought he just was leaving early.
Right.
Okay, see you Monday. And he's like, "Hey, no, you won't." And then a month goes by, and I finally go into Gabe Paul's office, and I said, "Harry's not." And then about a month later, Gabe Paul sticks his head in the door and said, "Hey, Bobby, you're the new PR guy. Have fun." I'm 23, 4 years old.
Oh my
somewhere.
gosh. Oh, wow.
And I didn't take a day off for 3 years.
Wow.
I didn't want to make a mistake. 'Cause I got this job. I'm very fortunate to be at my age, the PR director of a professional sports team. I wasn't going to make any mistakes.
Yeah. Yeah.
So,
What was going on with the team around
We were
that
not
era?
good.
Yeah.
We were not good.
Well, the
we
PR
struggled.
there got a little dramatic.
Right.
Yeah. We, 1981, we had the All-Star game, which was a big deal. And unfortunately, the strike and the lockout happened. So the All-Star game, instead of July, was moved to August. We just weren't able to put a winning team together. Some years, great pitching. Some years, great pitching. Never had both. And then all of a sudden, in the late 80s, in the early 90s, when Dick Jacobs bought the team and brought Hank Peters in to be our president, Dick brought a business acumen to our organization we never had before, and Hank Peters gave us a plan of attack, a strategy to rebuild the farm system. And obviously, we move into Jacobs Field. And from the moment we moved in there, we have been one of the best teams and organizations in baseball.
Yeah, it's been
for sure.
incredible.
For sure.
I want to take another quick break, and then I want to hear more stories because I feel like you're like the encyclopedia of the Guardians history,
Right.
Indians and Guardians history. I
Yes.
know there's a bunch of stories, and we want to talk about this year and this season as well. So we're going to take a quick break. We'll be right back. Thank you for watching The Object of the Game. We want to jump right back into talk about the Guardians. Our guest today, Bob DiBiasio, Bobby D, as he's known around the ballpark, who is the Senior Vice President of Public Affairs. Now, when we left off, you were talking about, it becomes the Jake, which I still feel like I fall into calling it the Jake, like every other Clevelander. Comes Jacobs Field, and then, we've had Carlos Baerga on this show. I mean, that era had to be one of the standouts. Considering you've been there since 1979, what do you think of that era? And is that one of the most memorable, or is it hard to pick?
Yeah, but it is. If I had to pick easily, that 90s era, because it really was the foundation of the renaissance of the city of Cleveland. Dick Jacobs had the ability to walk into Mayor White's office and say, "You're building me a ballpark." And he couldn't say no, because the skyline of Cleveland were buildings built by Dick Jacobs.
Yeah.
and bringing the Cavaliers back downtown so that we could take a condemned area. People forget the southern edge of downtown Cleveland was a condemned area until Gateway truly transformed the southern edge of downtown. And then the hotels and restaurants were added to the whole project, and it became an incredible entertainment neighborhood. And so to be part of that alone has been a really rewarding aspect to being a Clevelander who helped save part of our downtown. But then from a baseball perspective, Hank Peters, who then turned it over to John Hart and Danny O'Dowd, created this farm system, and with a brand new ballpark, the revenue that we were able to generate with the suites, et cetera, allowed us to have a payroll that was somewhat equal to the Yankees and others.
Yeah.
Wow, it's
A couple of years after the mid-90s, when regional sports networks came into being, the Yankees in major markets, we all went from $90 to $110 million payrolls. The Yankees in big markets could shoot to $200 million.
Oh, wow.
Us middle market, small market teams, we couldn't do that. So we had to figure out a different way to go about doing business. But having an all-star at every position, selling out 455 straight games, being the center of baseball, and having every city in America sit there and have the baseball teams tell their cities in Pittsburgh, Cincinnati, you name it, if Cleveland can do it, we could do it. And that's how all the brand new ballparks became a thing in our industry, is because people saw us in Baltimore be able to become championship caliber teams because of the revenue generation that a new ballpark would provide. But to watch Omar play shortstop for 11 years and watch the leadership of Sandy Alomar on a daily basis for a decade, and Carlos do his thing, just getting 200 hits every year that he was healthy, and Kenny and Albert and Manny, one of the greatest outfields in the history of our franchise easily. It was just, you didn't mind that you worked 18-hour days because it was just so fun.
Yeah.
Thank God cell phones came about, and email. We didn't have that when we moved in.
Oh my gosh.
In the early 90s, there's no such thing as email and cell phones.
no.
Yeah.
Then all of a sudden, the mid-90s, there were, and it made life a little bit easier to handle all the things that the media in town were looking for, because obviously the Browns left, and that left a fan base trying to figure out, okay, now what do we do?
Right.
Well, they came to us because we were the winning team. I always say, if the Cavs were the championship caliber team during that few year period, they would all gone there instead of us, but we were it.
Yeah.
So they sold out 455 straight games because we provided a championship caliber experience.
Yeah.
That's a story that people don't know.
Right.
What he just did
Yeah.
for the last 5 minutes. People don't know that story.
Yeah.
They really don't.
The history of not only the city,
Right.
because the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame came about the
just-
same
just like-
time, and then a
right.
couple years later, the Great Lakes Science Center came about.
Right.
The whole renaissance of downtown Cleveland, we feel we were a major player in that story, and again, that's really a very rewarding aspect of our
Right.
our careers.
You mentioned the fan base too, and just knowing the Cleveland fan base, and maybe it's the only fan base I really know well. They feel like they're part of the team, good and bad, And
Yep.
you guys are, you and your department, and I know you're kind of out of the day-to-day relations, but you have to be the one getting those messages, whether it's good or bad. And there have been some controversies even as of late, and I
Yeah.
know you can't go into
Don't-
it.
Yeah.
But how
Well,
complicated?
I can't talk a lot about Ortiz and
Right.
Class A other than it was a kick in the gut.
Right.
When
Right.
all of a sudden a
Yeah.
guy that you really thought was going to be a stalwart in your starting rotation and the
Right.
best
Right.
reliever in baseball the last 3 years are no longer around. The leadership of Stephen Vogt
I
and his coaching
was
staff
just going to say.
to keep this team focused and have the players be resilient. I'm really, for a young manager, and he's not even 40 yet. I think he might just be 40. His ability, he was built to be a big league manager.
Yeah.
Some people
Yeah.
are built to be coaches. Some people are built to be big league managers, and he's built for that.
Yeah.
That's amazing because honestly, the last few weeks was some of the things that have been happening. Being a coach, I'm
Right.
sitting there going, "Oh, that poor guy,
Yeah.
managing that. Can you imagine coming in and going, what happened?
Yeah.
What are they saying? You
Yeah.
know,
We were in
And yet-
we were in Cooperstown celebrating Tom Hamilton being inducted into the Hall of Fame as the Ford C. Frick Award winner when Chris Antonetti got the phone call
Oh,
about Class A. You're like,
Mm.
this business of ours, you never know
Right.
when the phone rings. What in the world's gonna happen?
Yeah.
but leadership.
Yeah.
Take an example out there. Leadership.
Yep.
That happens.
Yes.
Mhm.
And now, okay, let's go. Bring
Mhm.
out.
And that's where
Open the book.
yeah.
We already got these young kids. What are we going to do? What,
Right.
and you go.
Yep.
You
Yeah.
go. You,
Yeah.
you don't have time to sit there, oh, woe is us.
No.
You go. You
Nobody
kid,
cares.
You get your
Yeah.
opportunity, son.
Yeah.
Come on up.
Yep. And
know?
do it.
Up in this league, it's still 3 strikes and you're out.
Exactly.
And there's 9 innings, and let's play.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Let's go, kid.
Mhm.
And that's where I think Mike Hargrove doesn't get enough credit for being an incredible leader and manager. Too many people think anybody could have managed that collection of athletes, all stars at every position. But for a guy who lived in that clubhouse every day for years, Grover was an incredible leader to keep everybody focused. I mean, he was fortunate to have a team that had this mentality that we want to beat the living daylights out of people every game.
Mhm.
I mean, even when 95 in a 144 game season, they win 100, but we clinched on September 8th and we beat the second place team by 30 games. That's a record in Major League. 30 games we beat the Kansas City Royals, who were in second place in our division. Grover had a lot to do with keeping that tunnel vision
Right.
with that
Mm.
collection of athletes.
That was way more than I thought you would be allowed to or want to say about any of
Right.
that.
We-
So
we were
I
going to just-
appreciate that.
Oh,
But that's
sure.
part of
Yeah.
the job too,
Yeah.
is addressing
Right.
when those
You can't hide
those
from it.
those things happen.
Right.
Right.
Yeah.
Which I
and they
think is
do.
an incredibly hard part of the job.
Right.
It has to be,
For-
right?
There are
For
there
you,
are there
and-
are some that I'll be honest with you, the hardest part is trades.
Oh yeah.
Because you get to know guys. I'll give you one. CC Sabathia just is one who went
Yeah.
into the Hall of Fame because he's top of mind. He was just here at the ballpark the other day where our organization gave $52,000 to the CC's foundation, which he's turning back into utilizing youth baseball and softball activities in the city of Cleveland.
Wonderful.
But here's a kid we got to know at 17 as a draft pick. And then we get to see him become a young man, get married, then become a father, and then you're traded and you got to say bye. And you don't have the relationship with them anymore. And when that happens, you still stay friends and text, but it's just a hard one when you're no longer part of us. Like when Carlos got traded, because Carlos Sandy and Charlie Nagy, when we moved from Cleveland Stadium over to the beautiful ballpark, they never said no to me. Yeah. And we were running them ragged to help sell who we were to season ticket holders, to corporate sponsors. Those three never said no to me, and I'm forever indebted. And when they either retire and you're not with them every day, or like when Carlos got traded and Sandy, we didn't re-sign as a free agent, that hurts more than the things with the current two guys.
Yeah.
That right there is, they made major mistakes and they're going to have to be accountable and live with what they did. This was just the business of baseball that is sometimes difficult.
Yeah, that's interesting to say, because like I said, the fan base, they feel it too.
Oh, absolutely.
I mean, they feel like they're part of the team, and it's saying goodbye to your favorites.
You
and
get
which
planes
hurts.
over the stadium saying, trade John Hart, not by Erga.
Right.
And John Hart's all mad that we let a plane go over the stadium ripping him. It's like, it comes from all angles.
Oh my gosh. Well,
and you're in the middle of that.
And we're in the middle of it. And
glad I got up today, right?
Yeah, would not want to be anywhere else.
Yeah. Let's take another quick break. Too many good stories. And I want to hear about when we come back, we'll talk about the Greater Cleveland Sports Hall of Fame. There's some big things going on. I know you're deeply involved with that, and that involves a lot of fans too. So we're going to talk about that when we return. Welcome back. You are watching The Object of the Game. We love our sports. This is a sports town. And to know the Greater Cleveland Sports Hall of Fame, if you know anybody who's involved, you know that they're always working to make sure that we're honoring our athletes, the coaches, the people who are involved. Bob DiBiasio is with us today, and you play a big role in that committee. Tell us a bit about what's going on with, because you guys are making some big moves.
Yeah, we have some exciting news to share. Cannot wait for a ribbon cutting. Give you a little history real quickly. The Greater Cleveland Sports Hall of Fame was established back in 1976. The city in 1975 was preparing the bicentennial celebration for the city of Cleveland, and they wanted to figure out, how do we honor all the things that happen in our community, and one of them, obviously, sports. And so they thought Bill Repa, John Nagy, Sam Levine, who was Les Levine's uncle, a big professional bowler, and got a group together and said, let's create the Greater Cleveland Sports Hall of Fame. The interesting thing, of all the groups created for the bicentennial, we're the only ones standing.
Oh, wow.
Remaining.
Oh, no way.
And I don't know if they thought we would still be standing, because in the first year they inducted like 140 people. And then they didn't induct anybody for 2 years. Then they inducted 80 more.
Oh my gosh.
And then all of a sudden we now have more than 500 plus athletes and coaches inducted as your pops in the Greater Cleveland Sports Hall of Fame, was one of our proud inductees, and across 32 different sports. I was asked 3-4 years ago, it's one of those funny things that I was invited to go to Pepper Pike Country Club. And I thought, I get the chance to play. And I'm a golf freak. So it's like, I'm going to get a chance to play Pepper today. And so I go there with my golf attire and my golf bag. And there's a group. And they go, oh, no, we're not playing golf. But if you want to play 9 holes after, we're having lunch. We have something we need to talk to you about. So Jack Turbin and John Herrick Jr. and John Furchill and a gentleman by the name of Jim Pender sit me down, and they asked if I'd be interested in becoming the president of the Greater Cleveland Sports Hall of Fame, because a gentleman by the name of Jack Herrick, who had been the steward of the organization for 20 plus years, unfortunately was ill and just couldn't do it anymore. And I said, well, if all we're going to do is a dinner, then no, we can hire. I'll be on the board if you want me, and we can hire a marketing firm to run a dinner.
Yeah.
And they said, well, what would you want to do? I said, well, we need a philanthropic mission, first and foremost, and Jack Herrick, it should be named after him. And so we now have a philanthropic mission. The last 4 years, we've given $15,000 a year to two at the induction dinner, to 8 different off-the-beaten path, youth-oriented nonprofit organizations, ones who normally wouldn't get 15,000.
Yeah.
Cycling schools, a group that decided to take kids from the inner city and they bring them to the towpath.
Yeah.
Give them bicycles. They do the towpath and they have hot dogs after the first part of their run, and they meet with all the rangers and they talk about the wildlife and the vegetation in the park. And I think the guy told me, other than him, the gentleman who started it, the largest donation they ever got was $250.
Oh my gosh.
And we gave him
That's-
15,000. So those
That's a
are the
big
ones.
difference.
Those are the
Yes.
ones we go try to find and assist. And so the other thing I told him, I said the vision would be to have a museum to honor the rich sports history in this town. Luckily, with Jack Turbin is the without Jack, I don't know if this vision ever comes to life. But late November, we're going to do ribbon cutting on the campus of Urban Community School.
Mhm.
I'm sure you're both
Oh, yeah.
familiar.
Oh, yeah.
It's down
Yeah.
the street from your old haunts.
Right.
Yeah.
Urban Community School. Tommy Gill, one Ignatius
yes,
boy, went to
yes.
runs that. He's a rock star. Tommy
Yeah.
is an absolute
Great
rock
man.
star. And they were building an athletic center.
Mhm.
And some of their board members are on our board, and all of a sudden we just started talking, and there was a 4,000 square foot annex to the athletic center, and all of a sudden the reality set in is this is where it's a unique spot
Yeah.
for us to have a museum to celebrate. So we're going to, late November, we're going to have ribbon cutting. December 2nd is going to be our class of 2025 induction ceremony in the gym.
Oh, wow.
And it's just another one of those. I immediately called Paul Dolan and said, I was asked to be president. And he said, I think that's the coolest thing in the world. I'm
Yeah.
here to help you.
Mm.
Aw.
And Paul is building a little league field turf baseball field on campus.
Yeah.
In camp.
That's going to be amazing for
40-foot
those students.
bases, 60-foot bases. We're going to have a 19-foot wall left field to have a mini progressive field.
Oh
So
my gosh.
again, you look to things that are rewarding at
Right.
this stage of our lives, and I couldn't be the more lucky. I'm easily the luckiest guy in town.
Yeah. Aw.
That's just fun and exciting for
Yeah.
Cleveland.
It's going to
It
be
really
cool.
is.
Think
Yeah.
about the impact too, and I know you guys have talked about this, but just to wrap the audience in here, and think about the impact, like you talking about your childhood and what you were exposed to in terms of sports, like these kids who are able to go to Urban Community School and like have the museum,
Right
it's
there.
something they
Right
can
there.
visit during lunch if they wanted to,
yeah.
or the kids who will get to play this
We're gonna-
mini ballpark
Exactly.
is
think
going to
about
have such
that.
an impact.
We're
on
going to
them.
lean on people like your dad. One of the goals, because there's 3 classrooms above the museum,
Oh yeah,
is part of the design that we asked for, because we want our inductees to be engaged, to do clinics, seminars, women in sports. We want to have somebody, come in and do a little football clinic for the kids, and our guys, the Hargroves and Barkers and them, Rick Manning's do a little league clinic on the baseball field.
Aw.
We want to engage. That's phase 2 is
Yeah.
engaging our inductees to be a part of that community.
I'm glad you mentioned football because I couldn't hit the breaking ball. That ended my baseball career.
Yeah.
All right. So I'm glad you
that
said
does it. That
football.
ends a lot of
I'm good.
people's
Thank you.
career.
Thank
Yes.
Are there a lot of inductees still in town, or are these?
Yes.
Oh, okay.
We're very fortunate. A lot of football,
Yeah.
number of baseball, but the figure skaters, Tonya lives in Lakewood, Kayatowski, There's Diana Munn, still lives in Chagrin Falls, Olympic gold medal winner.
Yeah.
It's one of the exhibits that we're doing. You'll get a kick out of this, Coach, is we were trying to figure out some specialty exhibits. And one was because Cleveland's a small, big town.
Mm-hmm.
So everybody knows each other's families. So one of the exhibits is going to be families,
Yeah.
that have made an impact in sports in Cleveland
Yeah.
that are inducted. We're going to do one on coaches, the most impactful people of a person's life, a young male, female athlete, the coach and teacher. There's nobody more impactful than that world of a coach and a teacher. So we're going to honor coaches, and then Olympians were one of the exhibits. It's been so much fun with our committee. Tom Hablitzel, retired executive at Sherwin-Williams, has been our lead dog on the museum project. We've been fortunate to have Tom as our leader on this incredible project. And we just think once the doors open, people are going to have an awful lot of fun just coming and walking through the space to learn more about what a cool town we are.
Yeah. Yeah. With rich sports history. I mean, there's always a Cleveland connection.
Yes.
That's what we would always joke about in media. There's always a Cleveland connection.
Somehow-
Every big
somehow.
story, somebody
Yeah.
has always, grown up here for at least a little bit. When we come back, I know you mentioned you thought about at one point you'd end up in teaching. I don't know if English was where you were going, but this is our English lesson section to wrap up the show when we come back. Now for our favorite part of the object of the game. We've got some Shakespeare quotes, but not before we get to the vocab lesson. This is where we talk about the real life lessons of sports, what really matters when it comes down to what do you really get out of playing sports. So you've already sent Bob
Send them the themes.
you sent him the themes.
Life, sports, we have a lot in common.
Right.
That's what we believe.
Right.
Without question. So as I looked at the list, I don't know if this phrase is on the actual list, but it's part of it, was self-awareness.
Mm.
I
don't think we've gotten
I
that one
talked,
before.
I talked a little bit about it earlier, that you need to know your personality so you can work on strengths and weaknesses is what self-awareness is all about. And as I thought about this, when I'm at college campuses talking to people who want to get into the sports management world or public relations or communications, they ask about personality traits, and I say, you probably haven't got this one, but self-awareness is going to be one of the most important personality traits that you're ever going to learn, because you're never going to grow if you don't know who you are.
Mm.
And I give them an example, and when I thought about this, I thought of you immediately. So I played freshman basketball at Ohio Wesleyan. So beginning of sophomore preseason, we're in the gym and we're just working out before practices start. And there's these like 3-4 guards, freshman guards running up down the court. And I'm thinking, oh my God, these guys are good. There are a couple point guards who are dunking, and I'm the point guard, obviously. And so after the practices for about a couple of weeks, I walk up. Frank Shannon was our basketball coach. He played for the Syracuse Nationals, coached Wayne Embry in high school at Springfield High School, and helped Wayne get into Miami as the first African-American to play basketball at Miami. And so I walk into Coach's office and I say, hey, Coach, those kids, those freshmen that you recruited, they're running up and down. They're pretty darn good. He goes, yeah, aren't they, Bobby? They got some skills. And I said, I don't have a prayer of making this team, do I? Next year? And he goes, you know what? Self-awareness is going to be one of the most important personality traits you have, and you learned it already. And I said, well, thank you, because I'd never been cut in any sport that I ever played, and I don't feel like getting cut, so you don't mind if I don't come out for the team? And he goes, self-awareness isn't important. So I always tell people that story, that you need to look around and understand your atmosphere, your environment, who you are, what environment you're walking into. How do you become the best teammate? How do you do the things that are necessary to grow and develop and have a healthy respect and professionalism?
I love
That's
it.
a bit of an education for everyone,
Yeah.
isn't it? Right.
Yeah. Oh, I love it. I love it. It's very true.
Yeah.
Did you have another word that jumped out at you?
Preparation.
Okay.
You could say it's practice. You could say whatever it is. But if you're not prepared, you're not going to succeed.
Mm-hmm.
I always tell people when I would talk again at college campuses and have written a number of forewords for friends of mine who have written books on public relations and such, that I firmly believe PR stands for two things. The first thing PR stands for is planning right.
Mm.
To avoid pitfalls, to avoid crisis management. If you plan right, again, if you know your environment, you know what the atmosphere is, you have a sense of what might happen, and you can plan ahead as much as you possibly can, then you're going to be able to nip things in the bud, and you're going to be able to be effective. And so planning right, which is all part of preparation. And then it's promoting relationships is part two of what PR is all about.
Mm-hmm.
I don't care about all these phones and emails. It's all about relationships. It still is. It will forever be about relationships. And so, and that's just preparing, making sure, again, from a sports perspective, it's practice.
Yeah.
You just don't play games. Gino Ariema from Connecticut said it the other day. I was watching a 30-30, and I thought his comment was, I make our players at Connecticut practice up here every day, because if we want to be a champion, we have to practice at this level every day. If I only practice it this day, even twice a week, when we get to the championship or the tournament, then I'm just hoping we're lucky and we beat somebody instead of preparing to be the best.
Yeah.
And I thought, wow, he put it in the words that make the most sense in that regard.
Yeah.
So I think self-awareness, preparation will go a long way in making you succeed in life.
I love it.
Sports
I love
certainly
Learn-
are a
That's where I
classroom
learned all that.
for that. That's
Yeah.
for sure.
Yeah.
That's for
Absolutely.
sure.
Yeah.
Now, the Shakespearean quote is
Oh,
something that growing up, we got quoted a lot of Shakespeare
I
in the
bet.
household, as I've mentioned on this show. Some of the students that he's had, are well
Sure.
aware of the Shakespeare quotes. So what we like to do, he picks out
Mr.
a
Swords,
quote.
right? Coach Swords was
Yeah.
one of your
That's
Shakespeare
correct.
students.
I don't know if he had to write it 50 times because he forgot his homework or something, because that was always on
His
the board.
dad and I were buddies because he was a baseball coach at Tri-C.
Aw.
But his son, Josh,
Yeah.
Mhm.
big time player at OU, he was a Shakespeare guy at Iggy.
Yeah.
There you go.
There you go.
There you go. There you go. Okay. Well, people watching this show, I think, will go, I understand this quote with this guy.
Mhm.
Okay? I really do. This comes from the play Othello. It's Act 2, Scene 3. All right, whatever. It simply states this: passion essays to lead the way. Now, says nowadays, it's really saying attempts.
Okay.
So let me use that. Passion attempts to lead the way. Life has a lot of challenges. You got to love it.
Yes.
You got to love what you're doing. You mentioned it earlier, and I'm sitting there going, oh, wow. He saw the quote or something.
Oh, you
got to love what you're doing. And I don't,
Yeah.
Come on. When you were working for the little Fremont,
news
you
messenger.
you got paid probably what I got my first year of teaching, right?
I
wow.
probably got paid less at the Indians in 1970.
Okay.
I made $11,000.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, you got
I made
by
13 as the PR director.
Oh.
Gabe Paul paid me $2,000 raise
Oh
to
my
take
gosh.
over. That was
There you
it.
Oh my
There
But
you
I
go.
didn't care.
Yeah.
What
Yeah.
would you care?
I mean,
It was the passion
Right.
to, you had a dream, you were able to, get in there and you weren't going to mess it up.
Right.
So still to this day, I have a passion for, I get to drive to the ballpark
Right.
and
yeah.
go to work.
Yeah.
It-
Amazing.
it gets you.
And
Yeah,
being a son of a coach, I marvel at the athleticism and the work ethic that I see every day. And to watch these guys and become close friends with all the hundreds that I've been able to work alongside. And many of them help throughout their careers to keep them on the right path. There's a passion there for relationships
Right.
and the sport itself.
Right.
Yeah.
I mean, human beings, come on.
Yeah.
You got to have use the emotion. It's good.
They're not robots.
You're right.
Mhm.
People think they are
A
because
lot,
they're
of,
so
a lot
good.
of things get done because of that.
Yeah.
Yes, a lot
Yeah.
gets done.
You also have a radio show. You have a
Oh,
show
at the
that you do
ballpark,
at
yeah.
the ballpark with Bobby D.
Yeah.
Tell us a little bit about that and when
That-
people can catch it.
That came about. One of the things that people in the organization were saying, you need to be on the pregame show. And we decided once a week on Sundays, I would do an alumni. I did an alumni roundtable TV show
Mm-hmm.
when the Dolans owned the television network. And then when it got sold, they had national commitments and they didn't need the programming anymore, which I was bummed because that was so much fun sitting around a table like this talking
Right.
to be able to talk to the Rich Rollins and Mike Heegans and
yeah.
Gary Roggenberg and those guys, Ray Fosse. That was one of my favorite shows I did. But the radio show, I get to call up former buddies, players, and we just do this. We talk and share stories, catch people up on what they're doing these days, and then highlight what they remember about our great town and the fans and their teammates. And again, there's a passion for making sure, from my perspective, the guys who put on that uniform for even 40 years ago are not forgotten.
Mm-hmm.
And I think they appreciate that. I appreciate when they're willing to come on and deal with me
Yeah.
as an interviewer. But we have so much fun
Yeah.
because reminiscing, connecting generations is what sports is all about.
Yeah, it is true. Well, it's been so fun to have you
Yeah,
on our
yeah,
show.
thank
This
you,
has been
Maureen.
great.
Thanks,
Great
Coach.
catching up with you.
Really
Right.
appreciate the invite. This was fun.
Oh, this was
Yeah.
fun. You've been watching Bob DiBiasio with the Guardians, and you're watching The Object of the Game. Thank you so much for watching. If you want to catch more episodes, you can catch all of them on the Big Play app. Free to download. You can catch all the shows there if you're already watching us there. You can also catch us on X on Monday nights. That's most people know it as Twitter. And then also on the Rock Entertainment Sports Network, 4 o'clock on Mondays. For Coach Kyle, I'm Maureen Kyle. Thank you so much for watching.